You're listening to Punisher Waterfowls, the Union 0430 podcast. Brought to you by Real Geese Decoys, the most technologically advanced silhouette decoy on the market. First Light, the best hunting gear on the planet. Go farther, stay longer. And Ducklander Calls, tradition, education, and quality. Built to hunt.
Hey everybody, we're back. It's been a 2-week hiatus, but we're back. And we've got somebody new with us. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Union 0430. This is episode 178, and 178, not 178. And we're going to do a wrap-up of this past weekend at the Toronto Sportsman Show in the Refuge. But, as you can tell, we've got the two normal retro baits with us. Mark's coming to us all the way from Nova Scotia. Philly's coming to us from Port Perry, Ontario. And ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the newest member of the Union 0430. You know him. You love him. You call him a lot of different names, but we call him Triple Threat. Craig Lalonde coming to us all the way from Wabashine, Ontario. Craig, welcome to the Union, buddy.
Thanks, man. How's it going?
Yeah, don't ask us to spell Wabashine.
Yeah, no.
A lot of U's and a lot of E's.
And everybody that's listening, let's hope that Craig has the patience to stick it out with us. And this is not just going to be a one-time thing. And then he's like, "These guys are fucked," and then leave. But
I think it's too late for him to get out on that excuse.
yeah,
welcome to the dark side.
Welcome to the dark side. I do have to do a quick shout out, and Philly sort of kind of put this in my head, to our Maltese buddy James Shabrini. Thank you for the cigar. This is probably one of the best ones I've had yet. It's from Honduras. Great cigar, buddy. I know you listen to the show all the time, and hopefully we'll have another one when we're out salmon fishing this summer. Great cigar, so thank you very much for that. Philly, I'm jealous because mine's going to be gone here in about 5-10 minutes, and you've still got a full one to go, so I'm a little bit jealous of you.
Well, it's funny because when I came home from that day, which I guess was the Saturday, when James stopped by the booth again, and thank you, James. We greatly appreciate it. Means a lot to us. So I come home on the Saturday night and talking to Dana, and I'm like, "Look at all the crap I bought today." And I'm like, "I got a fucking cigar from a loyal fan." She's like, "Oh, when the weather gets nice, you'll have to get back outside." I'm like, "Yeah, damn right I will."
Yeah, fucking right.
Yeah,
you
have to relive the old days.
You done all right, eh? You come back with a cigar. You come back with some clothes from Final Approach. You got a new bag from First Light. What else? What else did you come back?
Get a 4-pack of beer.
Oh yeah, and then you got a 4-pack of beer.
4-pack of beer. God bless you, Mark.
Yeah, so came all the way from Nova Scotia at that.
Yeah, I got a long awaited fishing jersey that I wanted from Sticks and Stones.
Okay.
I've been a supporter of them for quite some time, and they've had this fishing jersey I've wanted for the longest time. Never online, and it's a lot of money. But yeah, they had them at the booth at the show, so I ran over and snagged one of those in a freaking heartbeat. I think I am the proud owner of the first 2 ever First Light turkey decoys in all of Canada.
The First Light?
No, the first two. Sorry, the first two final approach.
Oh yeah, that's what I was.
Turkey decoys in Canada. I bought the 2 off the floor.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. Thanks, Mario.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really looking forward to running those in the next 4.5 weeks.
Ooh, I don't even think it's 4.5 weeks, buddy.
Oh yeah, it'd be 4.5.
4.5.
Yeah,
just a little.
Yeah, about that 4-ish weeks, anyways. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I snagged those 2 turkey decoys. Got my youngest some more hot sauce because
he's He's a bit of a savage over hot sauce, eh?
Buddy, that little 9-year-old, he got a touch of the island blood in him. Little touch of the island blood. Because like for those who don't know, my mom is from the Caribbean. She's from St. Vincent. So like I was raised on curry this and jerk that, like. So he's got a little touch of the island blood in him. God bless him. And what else? I think that was it. Yeah, just a couple shirts, the decoys. Yeah.
Well,
I kept it civil.
You kept it civil.
Kept it very civil. It could have gone south.
Yeah, it could have gone south.
But I also miss, like, and it's hard because obviously, like, we're trying to be there for you and support the booth and be there because people come by. And, like, I missed so many people because you get a fucking squirrel moment and I got lost twice.
I heard you got lost.
Yeah.
Lori
Thank you, Lori Ann and Jamie, for taking me back to where I belong.
He literally got lost. He didn't know where to go. Lori Ann had to walk him back to the refuge.
Yeah. Like, so for those that were there, like, that's how big the show was. I couldn't find my way back.
They come back. He's got one of those like backpack kid leashes on.
The monkey one.
Yeah.
Harness.
Strapped in with like the 10-foot tail on it. Yeah. But yeah, like obviously, like, and I had like a bunch of buddies. Like one of my good friends, Andrew, who lives out by Merck there. He's like, how was the show? I'm like, I wouldn't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was talking to Andrew. I was on the phone with Andrew today for actually like an hour. But he's like, how was the show? And I'm like, I wouldn't know. I didn't see 80% of it because it was so freaking big.
Buddy, I'd say you didn't see 90% of it.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking to Craig before we hit the record button, and Mark asked him how long was he at the show, and he'd said just to get from Hall 1 up to the refuge, it was 2.5 hours.
Oh, yeah, it was ridiculous.
That's me stopping to talk to absolutely everybody along the way, too.
Yeah. Of course, but that's what you're supposed to do, right? Like, you're supposed to stop and check out each booth and stuff like that. So that'll give you an idea. So there was 5 halls, and Craig spent 2.5 hours just getting through one and halfway into the other to where we were. So that'll give you an idea just how big that
like he was. And my buddy Andrew was asking, like, what was there? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm like Royal Distributing had a huge booth.
They had like 2 booths, dude.
Well, here's the biggest things people need to realize with the Sportsman Show. It's the Sportsman Show. So it encompasses, like, all these outdoor sports. It's not just fishing and hunting. So, like, yeah, there was, like off-road accessories type stuff for, like, your ATVs and, like, guys that trick out 4-wheel drive trucks. I know Legend, or it might not have been Legend itself, but like a Legend boat dealer.
Yeah.
You know, they had a huge display because I'd walked by and seen some boats at one point.
Well, there was a number of MNR booths, including Ontario Wood.
We'll get into that in a minute, actually.
Like Ducks, DU, Delta, OFAH. But it was just like so much stuff. But again, like obviously, you can't really spend the time. And honestly, it's different for us. Because, like, again, we're like there to try to be in your booth.
Yeah.
So like you can get a break and wander and go see something or take a leak and get a bite to eat, right? But like for the little bit I got to wander around, like it was, I can say, for the very least, it was overwhelming.
I do have to say this, and to everybody that visited the refuge and specifically the Punisher Waterfowl booth, I do want to give you all a very, very big thank you. Although
big love,
Bill,
big love.
Although Mark and Phil, I was always all over the place. But although
you're only gone for 5 minutes.
Yeah. That was I'll be back in 5 minutes, and it'll be an hour later. But Mark and Phil tried their best to stay in the booth as much as they can and run things. But my young fella, Cade,
kudos to him.
He ran the booth for the entire week, and like there's no joke about it. He done all this. Like there was times when I used to have to ask him, I'm like, how much are we selling this for, Cade? And he'd have to tell me. So I got to thank every one of you that came in and dealt with him, because he's a 14-year-old kid, and you guys treated him like a man, and you talked to him, you hung out with him, and picked his brain and stuff, and You don't know how much that means to him to have a bunch of men and women coming up to him and chatting to him like he's an adult and stuff. So I got to give everybody a big thank you for that, because it does a lot to a 14-year-old kid's confidence. But um, to touch back on what you were going on about, Phil, like how big the show was and stuff. Obviously, me, you, and Mark didn't get to go everywhere in the show, but Craig, you did. Like you had your wife Carrie and the two boys with you, and you were all over. And because I hadn't been all over the show, but I have a pretty good idea that this flea market shit that had been there in the past, those days are getting numbered, eh? Like, I know there's still a couple of them kicking around, but there's not much of that flea markety shit there at this show now, eh?
No, and they seem to be most of them. Now I missed one of the back aisles over by like the M&R, like all the whole Ontario booth over there. I
Yeah.
remember last year that's where they kind of had most of that. Like I remember there was a lady selling markers and Scentsy and stuff like that, but it was like one little section, and that's where they kind of put them all last year. This year I missed that because I was running over to go meet up with somebody to drop something off, and Carrie took the boys through that section. So I don't know if I think they were still kind of over there, but yeah, there's only a couple kind of scattered up throughout. Like, like the people that had like the massaging chairs and stuff like that, which like everybody stopped and is sitting there at the end of the show anyways, right? So like people actually enjoy that. But yeah, like just that that old mindset of it's like, wow, it's just junk. There's just flea market stuff. It's like anytime I see somebody online talking about that, I'm assuming they haven't actually been there. They're still just going off of their impression that they've been using for a couple of years.
Now, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong in saying this, and which is totally okay because it's my opinion, and you can tell me I'm wrong. But when you get this feedback of people and they say, well, stuff was overpriced or there wasn't enough hunting and fishing stuff. Like if you say there's not enough hunting and fishing stuff, that you obviously weren't at the same show I was at, because everything I seen was hunting and fishing.
No,
Like I didn't see any junk.
There was some big fishing booths, like from what I saw, like making trips to the bathroom.
And that's the other thing. Like I had told some people that was in the booth, and Merck was there when I was saying this, right? Because people were talking about the foot traffic coming through the refuge on Friday, right? Because Thursday was good, Friday was a little slow, right, Mark? Yeah. And people were a little bit concerned, and they were like, "Well, how are we going to get more foot traffic through and stuff like this?" I said, "They'll come. Like the people that want to come into the waterfowl side of things, they'll come. They know we're here. But you need to realize that 75%, I don't know, Phil, Craig, you chime in on this, but I would say 75% of the people that came in through the door had nothing to do with hunting. It was all fishing.
Oh yeah, everybody's walking around the fishing rod at the end of the day, right? And it's it's nice
And
because they come in, the way they've got it sectioned off. It's like I know, like for me, when I get in the back in the fishing section, like I'm just basically up and down those aisles. I'm not buying a lot of fishing stuff. I've got enough stuff. I don't fish enough, right? So yeah, it's like everybody's hitting the section that they want.
Yeah, and I think people need to, like, listen, it would be awesome if there was 5 halls full of waterfowl gear or 5 halls full of deer hunting or whatever it is your passion is. It would be great if we could have shows for specific things, but we do live in Canada, where our population is a fraction of what it is south of the border. And you know what? Unfortunately, or fortunately, depends on how you look at it, but fishing is much bigger, especially around Ontario. Fishing is just that much bigger than what hunting is. And it is. Yeah, go for it, Craig.
Especially in the GTA too, because it's like, it's a big show, but you're not necessarily going to pull in all the hunters from hours away, right? So it's like you're in a major city center, and like Toronto, like Lake Ontario and the Toronto waterfront, like there's a lot of great fishing opportunities within the GTA. So it's everybody in the city can fish. Not everybody's going to get into hunting, right?
Mark, what was it you said when we were driving down? You had said something about the GTA being like, did you say it was like the 4th largest metropolitan area in North America?
Yes.
Yeah. So
after Mexico City, New York, and LA, and it's Toronto.
Yeah. So if you can imagine the amount of people all I know is that there was about 20,000 people came through the door on Saturday. That was just Saturday. So I don't know if I was to give an estimate, if there was 20,000 through on Saturday, I'd say there was probably 7 or 8 through on Sunday, probably 5 through on Friday, and probably 7 or 8 through on Thursday. That's
they shut down the parking lot on Saturday.
Oh,
somebody
really?
told me that's never been done before.
Yeah, like people were parking like a block or two down the street and walking up.
Yeah,
It was
like
madness.
it was madness, man. Like it was
madness
crazy.
outside.
I remember
I had to go.
Yeah, so Mark was the gopher for the weekend. Anytime anything needed to be picked up, Mark was jumping in the truck and going and picking it up. I remember Thursday he was like, "Let's go get Five Guys." He said it's only right here. I think it was 3 hours later before he got back.
Yeah. Oh, I'm blaming that on Cade.
Oh, are you? Oh, okay. Blame that on Cade. He's not here.
He said,
he probably could have just Ubered it, right?
What's that?
You probably could have Ubered it instead of having to head out.
Oh yeah, probably could have.
Probably could have. Yeah, we probably could have. But
yeah, see, I live in small town Nova Scotia, and my Uber is my truck.
Yeah, you are Uber.
I am Uber.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like the show was so big, I never even saw the dog arena.
Oh, you didn't make it down there, right?
I couldn't even tell you where the hell it was because the thing was so big.
Yeah,
never made it down.
Video.
And like it was, I was lucky, like, you know, obviously from being in the dog game and stuff, and people that were there running dogs and in their off time coming through the refuge. It was great to, you know, see some of my old buddies that I used to run with and train with and stuff. But like other than that, like I said, there was piles of people down there running their pooches. I never even got to see them or say hi. Like, and if you weren't there, you cannot grasp how big this show was.
Yeah. I've been getting some emails since getting home on Monday, just from, you know, friends down south of the border asking, you know, how big was it and how'd it go and stuff like this. And again, I don't have all the numbers yet, but and I've shared some of them with you just on the sales that have happened within the refuge, and it's significant, man. Like there was 19 vendors in the refuge. Some of them didn't sell anything, but you know, there was a lot of money spent in the refuge, and a lot more, as our good friend Rusty Heron says. The refuge was like farming. And it was a pretty good analogy the way he said it. He was like, "We're just planting seeds here. Like if you were expecting in merch to sell out all your waterfowl hunting gear, it was probably a little bit presumptuous, because most people were getting ready for fishing or getting ready for spring turkey. But you laid the seed, you planted the seeds for people to come back to you when it gets close to the time, right? And talking to like Rusty already this week has been shipping calls out to dudes that came by, and I guess they just weren't in a position to buy at the show, but they have been this week, and every day he's been sending calls in the mail. So yeah, it's pretty good. But I want to get back to the dog thing, because yep, Mark.
So before you start on the dog thing,
yep,
I have a video of the dog trials area, and I can do it for the millions of viewers watching right now.
For the millions of fans. Yeah, go for it.
And then we can go on with it.
Mark's also our AV tech guy.
Yeah, Mark. Yeah, Craig, in case you didn't know, Mark.
Everybody see that?
Yeah. That's awesome.
This is where it pays to subscribe. Like and fucking subscribe, YouTube. Come on.
And 3.
That's not Lander.
No, that pool would have been emptied if that was Lander.
Who's that running?
I think that's Cody Melvin, actually.
No, because Cody doesn't run black dogs.
He doesn't? Oh, he has Chessies? I don't know who that is running.
No,
actually,
Yeah, looks like maybe Nick Mitchie or Jeff Williamson, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I was going to say
Craig Biasi.
Oh, maybe that's who it is, Craig Biasi.
Yeah,
probably. I was going to say maybe it was Matt Pomeroy, but I don't think it was. But like that was a huge area, and that area was bigger this year than it was last year, and they're already talking about making the dog trial area even bigger next year. So, and I know Bill Kennedy from Purina, Canada, was there, and he said that there was one morning, I think it was like 11 o'clock, and he texted me and he was like, "Are you guys busy up there yet?" And I was like, "I was just starting." He said, "It's madness down," and it was 11 o'clock in the morning, and it was madness down there then. So crazy amount of people, and just to let the millions of fans know, the majority of this show, this is what we're talking about. So if you don't want to hear us talk about this, you're probably going to.
But in saying that, this show is still going to go all over the place because of what went on.
Yeah, but I do have to say this about the dogs, because it wouldn't be an episode of the Union 0430 without something funny happening or somebody saying something funny. And in the refuge, we had a young lady from Quebec who owns an outfit. Buddy, it was, Billy, you gotta admit that was a fucking wicked burn. So Craig, Phil and I are in my booth, and this young lady comes in. She's coming in to get a cup of coffee, I think, because we had Dirty Duck coffee brewing in the refuge the whole weekend. And she comes in and she's got a black dog and a yellow dog. And Phil says to her, he says, "Now you just need a brown dog." And she goes, "No, I don't have a brown dog." He said, "No." And the girl said, "No, I know." Or no, hold on. Phil said, "You need a brown dog." She said, "No, I don't have a brown dog." And Phil said, "I know, but you need a brown dog."
So you have all three.
So then you have all three. And then she goes, "I'm a waterfowler. Why would I want a brown dog?" And I fucking laughed, man. That was it was so good. And Philly was just, I tell you what, if it was a dude that said it to him, Philly probably would have had a really good comeback. But this young lady just, I think she just caught him off. She caught him off surprise and totally fucked with him, and he couldn't
completely disarmed.
Oh yeah, totally disarmed him. But
yeah,
it was good. It was good.
God bless her.
But now that being said, Cody Melvin did win. I'm pretty sure Cody Melvin won that trial on Sunday, and he's with Chessie's. So, which is impressive because I've never seen a whole lot of success with Chessie's. Now that's with a very limited experience as well, too, right? I'm sure there's some great Chessies out there. It's just I haven't seen them. So when I hear of a Chessie doing very well,
there's been a bunch. There's been a bunch that have been in the Grand and have won, like Dean Roy, who I used to train with and have competed with, and have had the fortunate ability to be judged under as well, under Dean. Dean used to train Jerry Gagnon's Chessies, as in like Gagnon Sports in Oshawa. Jerry's only ever run Chessies. And I think he had like 3 at one point. He had Diesel was his old boy, and then Tank was his son. And then he had like a female as well, and he ran all those dogs in the Grand.
Well, I know Paulie McKinnon from PEI. He's got Chessies. He's always had Chessies, and I hunted. Well, we didn't hunt because Jax was just a puppy then, but it was. I remember telling Paulie at the time, I'm like, "This is probably the best Chessie I'd ever seen." And he was just a pup then. He wasn't even hunting, but he impressed me. So,
how often are they, like, just being around in the trials in the first place? Like, I've only been around a couple of times to watch different trials, but I've never seen a lot. So, like, are they, like, obviously labs are kind of the key, but do they get a lot just kind of in the trials in the first place?
Like, what do you mean, buddy?
For the Chessies, like, are there a lot of guys running them in general?
I think there's not a lot, but you're seeing more and more. Like, you're seeing more and more of them showing up here and there. But and again, I don't have a whole lot of experience with them, so anybody that's listening, feel free to chime in and tell me I'm right out of her. But from what I do know, I think you've got to be a fairly confident trainer in order to get a Chessie to
They
be
say like, don't make it your first dog.
is
A
that
lot of patience.
yeah
Yeah,
a
don't make it
lot
your
of patience with a Chessie,
I
right?
remember I've always heard that, but I didn't know if that was just kind of like an old thing that people still just kind of continue to say, or if there's actually something to it.
I think there's still a good level of like the old boys clubs sort of thing when it comes to like dog trial and like the old school field trialers where like, if it ain't black, I want nothing to do with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
Kind of the
like
arbitrary
obviously labs only come in 3 colors, despite what some people may think. There's black, yellow, and brown.
Mm-hmm.
Blacks make up like half the population. Yellows make up a quarter. Chalks make up a quarter. Like this is approximate, but like black is your dominant. No, black is your dominant color trait. So therefore, there's a piss ton more high performance athlete blacks than there are when it comes to like the yellows and the chalks. Now, like don't get me wrong, there's chalks and yellows that are field trial champions, Grange Hunt champions, Master Hunt retrievers, like national master, you name it. They're just fewer.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Chessies. Now, I don't think you see any Chessies running field trials, to be honest. Don't take my word for gospel.
I can't
say I've ever seen.
I haven't seen a Chessie in a field trial, but I've seen Chessies in CKC hunt tests.
Oh yeah, hunt tests.
Yeah.
All the time. Like
yeah, but I haven't seen them in.
But they say like you got to train a Chessie with a 2x4.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, like you think running a brown dog's bad? Get one of them fucking curly ones, or even worse.
Even worse. And I did, because Craig, you know, it's cool to have you on the show now, especially after that past weekend with, and I know like we've known you for years and stuff like that, but when you and your family showed up to the Toronto Sportsman Show, like you guys were spectators, right? Like you paid to get in the door, and you were coming in to take full advantage of everything that was there.
I didn't pay Lorianne. I won free tickets through Lorianne, so
okay.
Nice. Just my continued winning streak of just random stuff all the time.
Yeah, and didn't Cam win the coloring contest too?
Caleb did, yeah.
Caleb did, yeah. So yeah, the horseshoe up your ass is still there, obviously.
Yeah, it's hereditary.
It's hereditary. But you know, I guess the thing that I'm getting at is I'm reading it online now, right on Facebook, and I'm hearing people talk about the show, and obviously some people are still holding on to the past and the way it was, you know, 20 years ago, and it was before my time, before I had ever seen it, and I wish I would have seen it when it was in its heyday. But I honestly believe that the Toronto Sportsman Show it has an upward trajectory, and it is trying to bring it back to what it was. For somebody that attends every year, you and Phil, both of you attend every year, and you have since you were kids. You know, what are your thoughts? So we'll go with Craig first and then move over to you, Philly. But Craig, like, you know, if you were to describe it to somebody now that's been away from the Toronto Sportsman Show for a number of years, and you were to tell them your thoughts on the show now, you know, what would it be?
I think like it's definitely, especially the last few years, like even kind of extending before COVID, like it got pretty bad. So like I get where people are still coming from, but it's definitely way better. And this year, it was crazy how good it was. And because I remember like was it only 1 year? I think it went to like the Metro Convention Center, and it was awful. But yeah, I remember from being a kid, like going to, what was it, at CNE or something like that. And it's like, when I look back, I think of how huge it was, but I was also probably 5, 6 myself, right? So I really don't know for sure that it was that big. It's just, again, you hear everybody else talk about that. But like I thought this year was amazing. The kids liked it. The kids complained less about being dragged around this year. And that was the thing. Like, and I saw even before I got there on Friday, for everybody that was there Thursday, like everybody was saying how much how much stuff there was for kids. And when we got there, it was so much engagement for kids. And like, I didn't go to buy anything. Like usually when I go, I'm just going to say hi to everybody, right? It's kind of like the home, it's like the homecoming weekend, just go and see everybody. So it's like, but like that being said, there was tons of stuff to buy. So like anybody who's complained in the past that their vendors were just there, just kind of showing stuff, but not making it available. I don't think that was the case this year at all. And like there was anything you wanted was there, and everybody was walking around with stuff in their hands too, right? And between the amount of product you could buy and the variety of stuff too, and just most people are going with kids, and like you couldn't complain about the amount of stuff for the kids and the handouts for the kids and the overall engagement, and not just throwing stickers at them, but like actually giving them something to do.
Yeah.
But I think anybody who hasn't been, definitely I think should go back. And they may still not be happy with it, and chances are if they go and they're not happy with it, they're never going to be happy with it. They're always going to find something. But I think it's definitely worth the trip back, especially if you've got kids. There's no reason to not take kids out for the day.
Billy?
So back in the 90s, when Outdoor Canada magazine was like the official parent head of the Sportsman Show, when I was in high school, we had a fly fishing club, and we actually ran the Young Anglers of Canada booth for Outdoor Canada magazine at the Sportsman Show. So like we were sitting there doing fly timing demos and all kinds of jazz. But like I remember, and this was obviously all C&E grounds, like this is back in the mid 90s. Like the show was huge.
As
like,
the kids say, the late 1900s.
Right? So, like there was like huge booths set up there, like guys selling like full kayaks and canoes. There was like big army surplus booths. People selling like rock climbing gear, like everything unimaginable outdoors, like bikes, mountain bikes, like you name it, it was there. And like so the show was massive. Like being as old and senile as I am now, and trying to remember the good old days. Like in comparison to looking at the show that's progressed over the last couple of years, because obviously I've been there for the last few years and have seen it develop. Like it's definitely making that comeback and that transition to back to not quite the old show, because again, this isn't the fucking 90s. Like it's the 21st century. Times change. It's definitely making the effort to get back to not quite that old show, but a very comparable show. And again, size-wise this year, it was 5 halls.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't see like 80-90% of the shit that was there. But honestly, like for what it's come back to, at least very much this year's show was outstanding.
Yeah.
In comparison to the old show. It's, I'd say, almost like a neck and neck race as to what it used to be. Like, yeah, there's always going to be stuff there. It doesn't apply. People are always going to bitch. Whatever. You don't like it? How about you sign up and be the GM and you run the show? Just saying. You're part of the solution or part of the problem.
Yeah.
And business is just different too, right? Like it's back then, everything was brick and mortar. So it's like business, like this retail is different. So it's for the show to have come back as much as it has, especially this year with that much product there for people to put their hands on and take out with them.
Yeah.
I think that's like it's gotten that much better, kind of despite all of the fact that like people don't need to do those shows anymore. And I think that's what happened. Like people just didn't. Things moved online, and it's like, well, why am I going to go do a show? People are going to buy my stuff anyways. They're going to do it from home. And but yeah, I think like after COVID, everybody just wanted to get out and do something. And
I agree.
And, like lay hands on the products. And so I think it's good to see that it's come back. And I think it's the fact that it's come back that far. Like I said, despite all those kind of limiting factors of it not being a brick and mortar sort of industry anymore, I think it just makes it that much more substantial that it rebounded so much.
Mark, I don't know when the first time you went, but I know you were there in 2021, the first time we put a booth in when we shared a space with Lori Ann and Canadian Sportswomen's Society. So you would have walked around during that show compared. So that was just 2021 or 2022, because that was the first show when we come out of COVID.
22.
Yeah, 2022. So that show compared to this one, what differences did you notice?
Oh, it's night and day. I think we were only in one hall. The whole show was in one hall.
2 halls. Yeah, there was 2 halls.
Yeah, it ended at the back of like the big one. That's typically the fishing. It just stopped there.
That's where it stopped in 2022. Yeah,
there wasn't near as much stuff though, even though it was 2 halls. And like people have commented or whatever about the non-hunting related booths, there was more of those too. No, this one was so big. I mean, I was there the full 4 days like yourself, and I didn't even get to see all of our hall. Right. I never went past Lorienne's, and there's the Canadian Sportsman's booth. As far as I went in our hall, I didn't go around the corner. Okay. When I went into the other hall, it was usually to go through it to get to Hall 5. Yeah. So I could go down and see Bill or see something down there, and I didn't even get to see everything in Hall 5. Yeah. I ventured out once to go check out the DNR exhibit. They had the helicopter there, and I wanted to go geek out with the mechanics and talk about their aircraft. So I did that for half hour, 40 minutes there once. And other than that, it was, like I said, going to the bathroom, getting food.
That's so. I knew that there was going to be a helicopter at the show, but I'd totally forgotten about it until that day. And you had come back that morning, and I was like, "Oh, where'd you go?" And you were like, "Well, I was down geeking out at the helicopter." I was like, "Oh, fuck yeah, right." The helicopter was. That's how huge the show was, because I had walked through that hall more times than I could count, because I would go down to see the dog trials and stuff. And I had never seen that helicopter because it was on a different side of that hall.
It was on the far side of the hall.
It was on the far side, and I was walking down the middle to get down to where Purina was. And I wouldn't even see that helicopter. Now, it wasn't a Chinook or nothing like that, but it was still a half decent sized helicopter.
It's still a helicopter inside the building.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it was still
a several $1 million piece of equipment just sitting there inside the building, right?
Yeah. So, like, that's what I mean. Like, I've been talking to people have been asking me, especially, brands from down the States. And, I got to give a shout out, not any more than anybody else, but just logistically how much harder it is for, say, Craig Mintz and Real Geese coming in from Ohio, and then Mario Friendly coming from Washington State, not Washington D.C., Washington State, so right over on the west coast of the continent. For those two brands to come into the refuge, and the logistics of making that happen. Now, I know First Light has a not First Light, Final Approach has a they have a Canadian distribution center now, but still that's in Saskatchewan. So that's I think Calgary. Okay, so that's in Alberta. So still logistically, that was a pain to get all that stuff there. And Craig and Final Approach both had great shows. I've been talking to Mario and Craig, and they were extremely happy, as was everybody else. Phil, I know you were talking to Mike Spicer from Freedom Canoe and Kayak, and I think they were extremely happy with the show, right?
Yeah, well, Mike was by my house here yesterday.
Okay.
And yeah, like, he was beside himself. Like, just, I think he was a little overwhelmed at like the response, and I guess the traffic and stuff at their booth. I think he might come back next year.
Oh, he's coming. He told me he's back next year.
Not even a question. That's good.
Yeah, not even a question. And he's going to be looking for a bigger booth, just because he's got more stuff that he wants to bring and put in front of people, right? Yeah. So,
like, he had an unlimited and an F12.
Yeah, he had an F10 there.
Yeah, he had 4. There's 4 boats in total. So you had the unlimited decked out with the blind, and then the other 3 boats were kind of more set up fishing wise. But again,
right,
that's what New Canoe is like. Their boats are like 90% geared towards fishing, but they do have a slight, hunting aspect to them now that they're kind of getting more into. So yeah, I definitely think Mike would benefit huge from like a bigger booth to get like some more boats in there, like, one of each if possible,
Mhm.
so people can see those. And like, he's just around the corner from my house here, more or less. But like, I know he did super well. Apparently sold a pile of life jackets.
I was just going to ask too, like as I saw all the different boats in there, like were those guys actually moving boats out that day? Like were
I think
guys
he's-
coming
Yeah,
in?
I think
so Freedom,
sold 10.
yeah, Freedom
Yeah.
sold.
Oh, gee.
They sold a bunch. They sold a bunch of theirs with. So one thing that they do, which is really cool, Phil, you probably know this, but so for their new, well, for any of their products really, but mostly for the new canoe, because that was what they were really pushing hard, their new canoe, while they were in the refuge. But so anybody that came by that was sort of kind of from that Port Perry area, that Scugog area, um, Mike and Mike and his team had said, "Hey, listen, if you're, sort of teetering on if you want to make this purchase, just come up to the store. I'll put one in the water and let you use it for an
Yeah.
hour and let you paddle around, and then, and he was that confident that it would sell. After you're up paddling around in this and you realize just how stable a platform it is, I'm sure you're going to buy it. So he did say that there was a lot of people that were like, okay, well, we're going to come up and try it when the weather warms up and we can get in the water and stuff like that.
That's the great thing about Mike's store is, like, you can stand on the edge of their parking lot and look and see the boat ramp.
Okay.
It's 200 yards away.
But and
Yeah,
and I
like, they're moving product like that, and like those, they're not inexpensive pieces of equipment. And like the fact that guys are showing up to the show and walking out with stuff like that, right? Like that's awesome.
yeah, like and then Conception CPA mark, like Samuel, I think it's Cote, I think is his last name, but I'm not sure. But so in that booth they had, so obviously they had the outfitter, then they had the call maker, and then the antler carvings and stuff, and they were moving product, and I'm telling you, like, these antlers, these antlers,
The antlers varied from $5,000 to $18,000.
and they were moving product, like people were coming in and buying it, like it was.
They sold them.
They sold, man, like, and then you look at Tiny Goose, like this new business, and I gotta admit, like, first when I heard about it, I was like, man, that's going to be that's and not so much a niche market, but that's heard because it's geared just towards kids. But holy smokes, over the last 3 months, I've been watching their social media, and they are hitting the shows hard. I think every outdoor show that's in and around Ontario they've been at in the last 2 or 3 months, putting in a lot of miles and a lot of work, and they are just killing it, man. And every time you looked over towards their booth this past week, there was a crowd of people, a crowd of people with kids, and like you said, Craig, everyone was walking around with something in their hands that they had purchased, right? So it's amazing to see how much money was spent. And then if you stepped outside of the refuge and you went down to where all the ATVs and the boats and side by sides and all that's, like, on Sunday, buddy, there was a lot of that stuff that had sold signs on it. A lot. Oh, man, it was. And like,
That back hall was amazing because like the back hall was nice because it was less busy when I got there, so it
That's
was a lot. Because by that time, like we were just getting so warm, and there was a little more, like, aisles were a little bit bigger, but like the amount of stuff back there, like just the boats, those giant, like in the Argo booth, because they've got such a huge variety of stuff now. Those giant things that they've got,
yeah, the Sherpas.
like that back hall was really cool. Like it's the hall that not everybody's going to be going in there to buy, but like for the sake of walking around and seeing the show, like that kind of stuff there, it was. And then they had, on the far side, they had like all the OPP stuff, the military personnel were there, and like the kids loved all that.
I was gonna take a video and send it to Philly because he wasn't there when I walked through. But they had a golf cart there, Philly, that if you had that in your campsite, I'm not joking, you would have been the tits of your like, it was a decked out, like, it had alloy wheels on it. The speakers were like LED lights all around the speakers. It had a kick-ass stereo system in this golf cart. And I'm just looking at it and I was like, holy fuck, like, can you imagine like being at a campground or if you were in one of these retirement communities
Buddy,
and
so
that's what you had to drive around on?
one
I'm
of
like,
one of my old bosses, he's at the trailer park just north of us, and I've been up there several times. And his golf cart is like next level. Like it's lifted, blacked out, chrome rims. He's got like surrounds. He's got like surround sound inside of it. It's got like neon underglow lights. Like yeah, it's next level
Fast
shit.
and Furious.
Yeah. And the cool thing is, so like their park, which is same as our park, like you have to like number your golf cart. Like it's got to have like your site number
Right.
on the cart. So my old boss or my buddy, whatever you want to call him, owns a Harley, big Harley guy. So he's got the Harley logo with no wording in it. Like, but you look at it, you know it's the Harley
Yeah, it's
logo.
the shield. Yeah, the shield.
So it's the Harley logo, and in it, it's got his park name and then his site number. Like it, like someone with a cricket put some time into this.
Someone with a cricket.
Yes.
You know, I think we do have to talk about another funny story, Mark.
Oh, staying in the hotel.
Staying in the hotel.
Hotels are
Philly,
always full.
there's a part of me that wishes Phil was there for it, and then there's another part that I'm glad Phil wasn't there for it, because I think it would have just went a little bit more sideways had Phil been there.
Is this the sombrero lady?
Yes, this is the song. So, Craig, I don't think we talked to you about this. So it would have been sad. Well, we're not going to say where she's from or what booth she was in, because that's just not right.
Okay, I won't then.
Yeah, no, because honestly, I believe that the booth that she was in does some very good things, and I won't
100%.
discredit that booth just because she was batshit crazy. So I think it was Friday night, and we're sitting in my room, and we had dinner down in the hotel restaurant, and then I said, well, listen, hotel booze is expensive. We can go up to my room. Because Cade and I had a suite. We had a little bit more room. I said, we can go up to my room and we can have a few drinks. So me, Mark, Cade, Bill Kennedy from Purina, and then Rusty Heron and his two sons. So we're up and we're having a drink and stuff like this, and we hear a knock on the door. And I think it was Riley Heron, so the youngest of the Heron boys. He goes over and he opens up the door to see who is knocking on the door. And in walks this, I don't know, probably late 20s, early 30s.
She's in her 30s.
Yeah, lady. And she's got this fucking massive sombrero on. So as soon as I see it, I laugh, and I'm like, somebody.
What was that called? The urban sombrero?
The urban sombrero. And I laugh immediately because I was like, somebody's been into the margaritas, right? Because you buy that giant margarita. I think it's at Boston Pizza. You buy the giant margarita, you get the fucking sombrero. So anyways, she just storms into our room. And at first I laughed at it, but then I was like, I'm not so sure I'm happy about this lady just busting into my room. Anyway, she busts into my room. Long story short, an argument sort of kind of starts between her and somebody, and we ask her to leave, and she's going off, oh, negative energy, and she's just keeping it going, right? Just really fucking pushing people's buttons. But anyways, we get rid of her.
Probably good I wasn't there.
Oh no, it gets better.
Yeah.
So we get rid of her, and we finish having our couple drinks, and then the boys all go to bed, and that's it. Saturday morning we get up, go back to the show. Saturday night, I said, well, instead of going out anywhere, let's have some drinks up in my room again. We'll watch the hockey game. So again, pretty much the same crew all comes back up to the room where we're watching the hockey game, and fucking door opens up, and here's sombrero lady with her fucking boss this time. They walk in the room, and I'm just like, what in the fuck? Like, where do I have a sign saying anybody can come into my room? Where is this sign placed? Anyway, she comes into the room, and it's awkward as hell. Mark had just come back from picking up food for us, so we're trying to eat dinner, and she's in there, and it's just awkward. So we sort of kind of make her awkward enough that she leaves. Well, as she leaves,
Keywords here.
what?
She leaves, and we were like, "Thank God, so and so is not here."
Yes.
Because that would have went fucking awesome.
Oh, yeah. So we said, thank God X, X, and X weren't here, and I'm pretty sure you can figure out who that was now that I said that. But and we go back to eating our pizza. Then we hear it. Open up the door, and here she is into it with Rusty and the boys. And I was like, oh fuck, this is not gonna go well, right? Because she first off, she was drunk again. Right? She was drunk again. And just fucking twisting at Rusty and the boys, just poking at them, right? And anyway, she goes, you know what? I'm gonna go into this room and hang out with your friends. And I say, no, leave. Like, no, you gotta fucking leave. Like, nobody wants you. Get the fuck out, right? So as she leaves, she grabs Riley Heron's hat and fucking like gives it this flick. And well, now you know what it's on now, right? Like it's on like Donkey Kong, and I'm like, oh Jesus, this is just gonna go downhill quick. But Merc jumped up and sort of de-escalated it before it got too crazy, and we got rid of her before it got nuts. But just so it was crazy. But then my 14-year-old son is in the room with me, and he's looking at me. He was like, what the F? That's what he says. He was like, Dad, what the F was that? I was like, buddy, that's what happens when you drink too much.
This is why we live where we live.
Yeah.
People like to have a good time.
Buddy, she was on blackout drive. Like there was,
Yeah.
Oh, it was a fucking mess.
Not
One
gonna
man
lie.
wrecking crew.
If she was a dude, she would have been knocked out 100%. Like,
oh yeah, 100%. She would have been. That's why I'm saying, like, if Phil would have been, because Phil and Rusty and the two boys, they would have been just. That would have been just a.
Out you go.
Yeah. Bye bye now.
Yeah.
And then Sunday morning when I woke up, she had fucking sticky notes plastered over my over the peephole of the door, so I couldn't see out.
I bet you she was the one that stole my fucking cup.
Probably. Probably.
Or to pour another drink.
we tried to find you one the next day. There was none.
So yeah, so that'll give you. So again, this is another success of the refuge, right? So DU does 300 Yeti mugs in that king crab color, and puts the DU logo on it for a donation. What was it? $35?
Yeah.
$35. You got this cup if you made a donation to DU. They ran out of cups Saturday. There was no cups Saturday.
There wasn't very many Saturday.
There wasn't very
only
many.
a few left.
Yeah, I think even when I was there on Friday, they said like they were taking some to some people, like because they just wanted to make sure people got them because they were already running low on Friday.
Yeah. That was.
And you said Friday wasn't even that crazy.
Friday was dead.
They had 500 of them. Easily.
Very easily, they could have had 500. So DU had a great fundraising. That right there, that was one of the draws that Delta had. They had that, and then they had 2 paintings up on silent auction. They made a pile of money, and just on memberships alone, I remember Mark Blake talking to us and saying like his membership, the amount of people that were coming in and signing up for memberships for Delta was crazy. So
they had the membership drive for the giveaway with the M2 and stuff, right?
Yeah. So yeah, and then they had that M2 Benelli there, that Rob Robertson modded M2, right? So
wasn't that supposed to be drawn this week?
I think it's supposed to be drawn this week. So I'm hoping it hasn't been drawn because nobody haven't called me yet. And
it's like Monday came and I was just waiting for calls for crossbows and kayaks and nothing came.
No.
It's about time you stop fucking winning, to be honest with you. I'm not gonna lie.
For the people who aren't watching, Craig hooked me up with this sweet Real Geese shirt.
Oh, very nice.
Got the logo on the back. I'm wearing it now, Craig, if you're listening.
Oh, he's listening. He always listens. But I do think everybody had a great show. Like Honk Daddy, one of the newest players in the silhouette game up here in Canada. They had a fabulous show. Stay True Outdoors. Um, he had sent the email and I had forwarded it off to you guys.
I read it.
But one thing that he said that made me very, very proud for the refuge, and he had said, and I'm paraphrasing, obviously, that being in an area surrounded by people that he don't know is not something that he does often. But he said he felt like he had known everybody in the refuge for years. He felt welcomed, and everybody played nice, everybody got along, everybody was there, sort of kind of helping everybody else out. Um, and that was something when I read that, I was like, okay, well then, if that's what he's walking away with, if that's the feeling he gets, then obviously the refuge was a success, because that as long as everybody felt welcome. The ladies, here's one, and Craig, you'll appreciate this because you like this stuff a lot like me, and I know Mark and Phil do too, but you and I really do. But the Wildlife Habitat Canada ladies, their booth, I was surprised how many people have no idea that their duck stamp money, where it goes. And it blew me away. And when they set up their booth, one of the girls told me they had printed out some projections, like on bird populations and their budget and all this stuff on where the money is going and stuff. And she said normally when they go places, like nobody takes that stuff, nobody reads it, and they couldn't keep the tables I don't know, stacked. They couldn't keep enough stacked up
Stocked.
for enough stock, yeah. Because people were coming along and taking it and reading it because they were very, very interested in it. Which made me think, I'm like, how many people don't know where their money for their duck stamp goes?
Because it's like so many other things too. It's like they don't. There's not a lot of the information's out there, but it's not they don't do a great job of just getting it out in your face kind of thing, right?
Right, right. And I guess maybe that may be the downfall of being a government organization, right? Because you probably don't have the budget for marketing and the social media shit and all this stuff, right? Whereas a privately owned business, well, they like for me, that's what I done the whole week, and that's all I done was on social media and doing videos and that sort of thing. But for those guys,
I brought the same thing up with and it's come up with Ducks Unlimited stuff before too. Like sometimes when I've sat around at staff meetings and that, and as a volunteer and hear about some of the programs they've got going on, that even as like a longtime volunteer and a pretty active volunteer, like you don't know about it, right? So it's like all
yeah,
of a sudden you about this really cool stuff that's going on, and but yeah, it's unfortunate it's just not out there, and I think a lot of them are doing better at that because they understand the value of it now. But yeah, again, like it's between government and non-government places, like it's just hard for them to they don't have the funds for that sort of stuff, like all that sexy marketing and stuff like that, right? To
yeah,
really and it's too bad because like that's what's going to get more support.
yeah. That I think they're going to come back next year. I think they had a great weekend at the show where they got a lot of attention and a lot of people stopped by and chatted with them, which I don't think they get at every event that they go to. I'm sure they have successes at some events, but I'm sure there's some where it's like crickets in the background and not a lot of people comes by because it's not a sexy thing, right? But um, with a crew at the Toronto Sportsman Show where it is 100% anglers and hunters that's coming in there, well, they do have an interest, and in today's age of everybody's pinching pennies as much as they can, I think most people are a little bit more cognizant, wanting to know where their money is going, right? So maybe that
Yeah,
maybe that is the reason why there was a little bit more interest.
I think there's been more of an appetite for finding out. Like, whereas people just they had their organizations that they dealt with and that they gave money to. I think people have been burned a lot, so more people are starting to pay more attention to, like, looking at when those agencies and organizations put out their financial statements every year and their big, the big booklets that nobody ever reads. Like, they're starting to look at those and seeing, like, okay, like, they raised this much money and here's how much did or didn't go to something useful. And I think more people are finally digging into that and understanding, this organization's been around a while, but maybe it's, they're not using my dollars wisely, so let's look at these other ones. I think people are really digging a little deeper into that.
I would be a little remiss not to bring this up as well. A good friend of mine, and I'm pretty sure, Craig, you've met Rich Fanning. I'm not sure if Phil have met Rich.
I have
before.
now.
You have now.
Well,
you met him
physically, yeah.
Yeah, and then Mark, you met him at the show as well. But Craig, you and I have both hunted with him in the past, and he's got a great program where he calls Veterans to Hunters, where he does a ton of fundraising throughout the year, and he pulls in veterans and first responders, a lot like a lot of the programs south of the border in the United States, and then also the guys out in Winnipeg, Ash, that we had on. So anyways, Rich raises money and then gets first responders, veterans to come out. It's free of charge, come out, hunt, fish, whatever it is. And I was telling Craig Mintz about it the first day that we were there, and Craig was sort of kind of asking who's all in the refuge and stuff, and I was pointing it out, and I was like, well, this is a good buddy of mine, Rich Fanning, and this is what he does. And I had, I think I had 2 or 3 dozen real geese decoys sitting in my booth. And Craig was like, you think we should give him some? And I was like, yeah, I think it'd be a great idea if we give him some. And he said, okay, let's go give him some real geese decoys so that he can raffle off as some prizes and raise some money. So I know Rich appreciated it, but I don't know if Rich understands just how excited Craig was to be able to help out. And for those that are in Ontario, that has been taken part of the Ontario Duck Slam. Hey, Mark, check your inbox, buddy. You got 2,011 messages in your inbox. And good job on killing the Pornhub link there before you brought that up.
Always do.
Yeah, check your tabs.
Yeah, but so Rich, even I think this has probably been 4 years where he's been doing the Ontario Duck Slam, and finally a kid won the Duck Slam this year, so got the belt buckle, and he done that presentation to the kid's dad, because the kid is a semi-professional, I would say, a semi-pro skeet shooter, and he's down the States trying to earn a spot on Canada's Olympic team, I believe. So
I think he was down in Texas.
Yeah,
this
something
weekend.
like that. So his dad came by and picked up the belt buckle, which is pretty cool. So there was such a wide variety. Pat Hendricks was there from Canadian Waterfowl Supplies. Dixon's Barbecue with Traeger and Eugene was there. It was such a wide variety of businesses and vendors that was in the refuge. I just think it made for such an awesome event. Obviously, I'm biased because it was sort of kind of our thing, but I was kind of biased, but I thought it was a huge success, as was the Toronto Sportsman Show as a whole. So that was pretty good. I will. Yeah, go for it.
I do want to apologize to Craig Mintz.
Oh,
I apologize. I did make one other purchase. I bought one of Craig's new decoy stake punches.
Oh, that thing. That's a fucking weapon. That's what.
If you ever have the need to fucking club Sasquatches, this is your tool, people.
And you have the upper body strength to do it.
It weighs a freaking ton. So for those, you've probably seen like some snippets on like the Real Geese fan page and stuff like Craig's done. So it's a decoy punch for your wire stake style decoys. But Craig has designed it where So there's like your two spikes that are threaded into the foot pegs in the bottom. He's going to have like an adapter where you take those out and you can put in one for like the wooden stakes. So it's going to be like a slotted style punch. And then he's also got this thing designed where you can take like the top section of like the shaft off, and he's going to change it up, and you can turn it into like a slide hammer, or whatever the fuck you want to call these things. Like, you can kill Sasquatches with it. Just
it breaks down too, doesn't it? Like,
oh yeah, like it can't come in a hard case. I opted not to.
Hold on, I'll
get
show
the
you the
hard
hard
case.
case because Philly's fucking cheap, and he didn't want
I don't
to
need
pay
it.
he didn't want to pay the extra money for the case, so I inherited it.
It's like a Pelican case, but like I had no need for it. It's not going to get used. So I'm like, do whatever with it. So Damien Snake did. He calls me cheap. But yeah, like it folds down into like a hard case, like a Pelican case. But you have the option of not getting the hard case. Like this is just going to get tossed into the back of the truck. But that's what it folds down into.
Oh, nice.
Like a 12 by 14 inch Pelican case or whatever.
Yeah, and I think you left some stuff in here too, Philly.
No.
You didn't leave stickers behind, did you?
Yeah,
No.
I don't need those. There's like little protective tubes
you might
for the.
need that.
I own wrenches.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, I got some test tubes.
Yeah.
But
if you need a decoy punch stake driver thing, get Craig's. Like you can fight off grizzly bears and.
That's what I was going to say. If you're like me and deathly afraid of bears, you take this out with you. You can put your decoys in the ground, and if a black bear comes at you, I'm pretty sure you could clobber it with this fucking thing.
Like it's great for it's great for fighting off grizzlies or fanboys that wear flat brims and run dive bombs. But anyways, so thanks again, Craig. You're the best.
And hey, you know what? I was trying to figure out a way to end this episode, but Philly, you just did it, buddy. Great.
Well, you know you can count on me for something, whether it's good or bad. You can count on me.
That's good. Mark, you got anything, buddy?
Oh, man, it was a great show. It was good seeing you guys there and everybody that I did see at the show. I had people walking up to me saying, "You don't know me, but I know you." And
Yeah.
I had a few of those. Hey, Damien, who was that guy?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was going to ask you. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you
that happened quite a few times. And then there was all the people I got to see who I hadn't seen in a while, like yourself, Craig, right? Not in person, anyway. And so it was really good to touch base with a lot of people. And obviously, a good chunk of the people that were in the refuge were people I knew. But there was people there I didn't know, and I got to meet them, and I made some friendships there as well. So all in all, it was a great weekend. I imagine from all the discussion, next year is going to be bigger and better. So that's something that I'm looking forward to as well, and I'm already planning to go. So we'll see that when it happens.
You weren't on, Phil, but before we hit the record, but before you come on, we were talking to Craig and was asking him about the show, and Craig was saying, well, he was only there for a few hours or whatever, right? And Mark's like, well, I'm not telling you what to do, but next year, book 3 to 4 days. And I'm like, yeah, book 3 to 4 days because you're going to have to be in the booth with us next year.
Not that much longer than how much time I spend when I do go anyways. Yeah, it's like normally like dragging the kids around for like 7 hours at the show.
Yeah.
Just talking to everybody.
No, but anyways, guys, I can go on and on and on about this because it's something that's very dear to me, something that's very important to me. So I can keep going on talking about this, and I'm sure the millions of fans have just about had enough of talking about or hearing about the fucking refuge. So we'll end her on this one. I can't promise that we won't bring it up again in future episodes, but this will be the last episode that was purely dedicated to talking about the refuge at the Toronto Sportsman Show in 2024.
For this month.
Yeah. Mark?
I just want to add something. I know we haven't really discussed it, but just putting it out there that the 200th episode of this show is going to be coming up in the reasonably near future.
Yeah. It should be. Yeah, so the 200, I'm just doing some rough math in my head here. So we're at episode 178. This is 178 right now. So we're what, 22 episodes away. So before the start of duck season, we should be doing our 200th episode, eh?
Ballpark, yeah. If we don't miss any,
Yeah,
that's the biggest. If we don't miss any,
But most are going to miss is 1 or 2.
Yeah,
we'll be early September, October.
yeah, we should be somewhere around the beginning of the duck season.
Yeah, like end of September.
Yeah, so we should be somewhere in around there. So yeah, I guess you might want to be paying attention because we'll probably be doing a lot of giveaways for that. You know, just saying. Let's do a quick around the table. Corey Baker's pulling his hair out right now because we're about 8 minutes over our hour. And I wonder, did Corey Baker ever listen to the fucking episodes? Like, we make fun of him every episode when we go over an hour. I bet you he doesn't even listen to us.
Yeah.
Probably not. Probably not. Okay, Mark, you already had your say. Philly, you, buddy. We'll leave the new guy with the last word.
Yeah, big shoes to fill. Again, it was absolutely just overwhelming and inundating being at that show. Like, I was down there for the 2 days. Obviously, the Saturday was an absolute train wreck, just a zoo. People like nonstop come and go, and it was just insane. But it's very overwhelming, like the amount of support from the waterfowl in the community, our fans, if that's what you want to call them. I guess, like, get James coming by, hey guy, throw us some cigars, because he knows Dave and I love cigars. Like, that means like the absolute world to us.
Yeah.
But just shaking hands with people,
kissing babies.
You know, kissing hands, shaking babies. But yeah, just like getting just to shoot the shit with random strangers and just trying to help people. Like, you know, we've been fortunate, we've been waterfowlers for a while. You know, we know a little bit of stuff, and like helping people with like small things like decoy spreads or like what guns to use and stuff. Just, you know, we love just talking. So we could do it for days on end, and just,
yeah.
I think the show is an absolute hit, and I hope it continues to grow. Hope to get to see all these vendors again next year. Hopefully get to see some more, like, and just keep on keeping on.
Absolutely. Craig,
you guy, here you go. Don't fuck it up.
Thanks for having me on. Thanks for inviting me. And yeah, just the show in general, like the refuge was great. Everybody in there was great. And just from one end of the show to the other, just talking to everybody, like all the vendors I talked to, everybody I talked to at the show was having a great time. Like, I didn't hear a single complaint from anybody who was actually at the show.
Right.
And I hope that it kind of keeps going that way. Like, I'm glad to have been there. I'm glad to be able to keep bringing the kids and my wife, and kind of keep that old family tradition, right? That started when I was a little kid, and so it's good to see it all coming back, and for the part that you guys have played in some of that too.
Awesome. Craig, buddy, thanks for joining this team of I don't know what you would call us. There's a bunch misfits. There's a bunch of words.
We stooges.
Yeah, that can be used to describe us. But thanks for joining us, buddy. Everybody, you know the spiel. We are the Union 0430 podcast. We are not experts. We'll never pretend to be experts. We are just a group of friends that love sitting around chatting and talking about bird hunting. Big love. Can't wait until the next episode to see you. And yeah, surround yourself with good people. Big love. Ciao.